Virtual summits are the most powerful online marketing tool available to grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and create an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. If you are ready to take your summit to the next level, then tune into the Virtual Summit Podcast with Dr. Mark T. Wade.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software and creator of the One Day Summit Formula. And I'm on a mission to help you, the summit host, get your summit out to the world in a powerful and impactful way. So let's get started. Hey, Summit host, Dr. Mark T. Wade here, founder of Virtual Summit Software and your host on the Virtual Summit Podcast. I am super excited for today's episode for a variety of reasons. One, we have legendary KJ Blattenbauer with us today on the episode. KJ, thanks so much for taking some time out of your schedule to be with us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, and it is going to be a blast. We're going to get into some really cool, specific information from KJ's perspective, having spoken on a variety of different virtual summits. But we're not going to just stop there. We're actually going to dive into some of KJ's expertise for all of you summit hosts and even you summit speakers listening in on different variety ways to really kind of promote and impact the visibility of your summit. So now, KJ, before we jump into all of those amazing, good summit gems, I'd love for you to just let our summit hosts know a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. I am a public relations professional with about 25 years of industry experience, both corporate and agency, helping entrepreneurs and influencers get more attention and learn how to do their own public relations.
Love that. So we've got a lot of experience going on there that we're going to be able to tap into that genius brain of yours. Now, before we do that, I'd love to kind of like take a look at some of the summits you've spoken on. I'd love for you to give our summit hosts just kind of an understanding or a feel from a speaker's perspective. What's some of the reasons you either would love to speak on a summit or maybe some of the reasons you would not love to speak on a summit?
Well, I don't think there shouldn't be too many reasons why you wouldn't want to speak on a summit. Sure, it might take a little bit of time out of your day. If it's not a good fit for you or your niche or where you want to take your business or your offerings, then maybe that's reason not to do a summit. But otherwise, it's a no-brainer for me to be a part of a summit. It's free advertising. It helps you reach an audience you wouldn't normally reach. It might not be known to you, but it's your chance to promote your business. And usually it costs you nothing. There also is the opportunity with a lot of the summits to do an offer or affiliate or something of that nature. And who doesn't want to extend their reach, get their expertise out there, and maybe get a little kickback? It really is a no-brainer for me to participate in summits.
Yeah, I love that. Now, as a summit speaker and getting requests to speak on summits, you're probably seeing a variety of different tactics or strategies to be able to get you to speak on a summit. Have you noticed maybe any kind of trends that you're seeing that summit hosts should be aware of, like maybe things that are like good strategy or even potentially some negative strategies that you're seeing?
I don't know why, but I'm starting with a negative today. And the one negative strategy I've seen lately is people who say, I want to have a summit, and then they just announce it and say, I'm having a summit. It's going to feature this, and this person. I want you to be a part of it. Here's the day it's going to be. And then they don't give you any details. And so you're left filling in the blanks. You have a million questions. It's not very organized. Look, we are all busy. We all have a million things to do. But if you want to organize a group of people and have a successful virtual summit, you have to go above and beyond to help your speakers. You have to help them with the artwork, help them with the timing, help them with what content they need to provide, the kickback, a platform, whatever it can be to make their life easier. You need to do that for them. And so that is the one trend that I'm seeing and loving. More people are getting organized. They're basically doing everything except your presentation for you, and that makes it a lot of fun. I am also seeing a lot more people offering some sort of kickback, whether it's, I'm going to share the email list with you, I'm going to let you become an affiliate, here's a system, I'm going to let you sell at the end, that sort of thing. And I think that that's always helpful, because at the end of the day, we all want the free publicity. We all want to help as many people as we can, but helping as many people we can, usually it's good if it helps us keep the lights on as well, right? We all have bills to pay. And so it's nice to have that little incentive at the end.
Calling all summit hosts. I want you to join me and my tribe of Summit All-Stars at our in-person conference called Summit Fest Live, where you'll walk away with implementable strategies to rock out your summit, increase your revenues, and make connections that will last a lifetime. Come join us in New Orleans and let the good times roll. Get more information at summitfestlive.com. What are some of the, when as you've mentioned, some of those, a variety of different strategies to kind of collaborate, which I like to call summits a collaborative marketing strategy. So I love what you were saying there. What do you think, is one of the more powerful or more probably bigger strategies to get a speaker to want to do it? You mentioned, like maybe like some affiliate rev share commissions, the lists. Like, is there something that you think more speakers are wanting over any of the others?
I think there's two schools of speakers. I think there's people that want to become speakers, so they're just happy to have the platform. And if you're organized and can make their first go through of the speaking summit great, then they're on board. I think the second tier are people that are experienced and have been in the summit before, and they need a little bit more. They probably already have an email list going, so just getting the email list of participants isn't really going to strike their fancy. But if you can give them 15% kickback for people they bring through their affiliate league, if you can give them 20, if you could give them 30, I'm sure that people would go gangbusters for 30% kickback on whatever you're offering or doing. I think you can just be rolling in it. So I think little perks like that not too many people think about, like, the free publicity alone is benefiting them. That doesn't really always work for everybody. They might already have enough publicity, or they think they have enough publicity in their mind. So I think that monetary kickback, it incentivizes them to share about the summit. It incentivizes them to put more into their portion of the summit. And it incentivizes them to get more of their people really excited and into it, because we all love stuff that benefits us. And it benefits you if you're getting a 15 to 30% kickback on who signs up for the service at the end.
Love that. So let's dive in a little bit into your experience on some of the summits that you've spoken on. I'd love for you to talk us through like one of the best experiences you've had speaking on a summit, maybe how the process went from the outreach to you speaking, and then what kind of results did you see from being on that summit?
Oh, can I call the summit out by name? Can I give them summit love?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
By far, of all the summits I've ever participated in decades, Eden Freed of the Rebel Boss Summit does the best job. She is so organized from the second you reach out to her to what the emails back are so informative. She has a whole speaker Q&A website set up, a way for you to submit things. I think she only does it once or twice a year. I hope she asks me back. I hope she hears this and she's like, thanks for the press, KJ. I want you back, because it was such a great experience. But then she has a kickback affiliate for you. You give a freebie or you can give a paid product. And then if you get so many people to sign up, you get a little boost on the back end. I don't even know what the percentage was. She just made it so painless from start to finish. She had a promotion schedule. She had it all branded perfectly. She makes it so easy that all I had to do was my presentation. She had it organized. We recorded a quick intro and it was game on. And I think that by far was the most rewarding one, because it was easy for me to do. She made me feel like I was a part of her little team from the very beginning. It wasn't just, oh, I'm helping you do this or you're helping me. It felt very collaborative. And I almost didn't want the summit to be over. So that by far is the best experience I've had. And it wasn't that she had to, we're adults. We don't need people to hold our hands. But if I went to your house for dinner, you wouldn't be like, okay, KJ, welcome to dinner, get in the kitchen, start making stuff. Like, you would have everything there for me, and you'd be like, hey, KJ, if you want to mix this together, you can maybe do one little thing, but you wouldn't have me put together like a 7-course meal. And I think that Eden does an amazing job with that. I've also been a part of other podcasts where it was literally, I'm doing this podcast, here's an expert, I'd like you to talk about PR, but no specifics on PR, no specifics on the audience, no specifics on even when the summit was or what they really wanted. Like, do you want a presentation? Do you want slides? Do you want me talking? Is it a video? Is it a Q&A? What are we doing here? And that one, that one didn't even come to fruition. It didn't even end up happening because no one was interested in the summit. Because if you aren't clearly communicating to the people you want to have in your summit, there's a really good chance you're not clearly communicating to the people you want to attend your summit. So it's having your ducks in a row, having a plan. That makes a huge difference for me in summits.
I love that. I actually love how you gave us both sides of that. And in this, unfortunately, happens more often than we'd like to share. But, you know, there's a lot of summits that get started that don't actually happen, as you just mentioned. And it's usually because they haven't taken the time to prepare, plan it out. And this is not the first time we've had a shout out to Eden on this podcast based on her amazing work with that Rebel Boss Summit. Now, KJ, let's kind of pivot just a little bit. And I'd love to know a little bit about your process of when you're speaking on summits. And do you have any kind of process at this point, having spoken on quite a few summits, where you're now you reach out and you go step 1, step 2, step 3, as far as you getting ready? Hey, KJ. Excellent. So what I would love to do now is hear a little bit about maybe if you have a process when you're speaking on summits. So at this point, you've spoken on, you know, several summits. When you get that invite, you decide you're going to do it. Do you have a process for you as far as what you're going to prepare and how you're going to deliver that information on the summit, and maybe how you're going to offer something to that audience?
I want to say that, yes, I do. And then I'm always prepared. And like a summit invite comes in and I have all my ducks in a row and it's this shiny, wonderful thing. And that would be a lie. And that's not fair to your listeners. Again, I love summits. I love participating in them. Invite me to all your summits. I will do them. I hardly ever say no unless it's really not a good fit. So I say yes to summits because I love them. And then I realized, oh shoot, what am I going to talk about? But there's so many aspects of PR and there's so many different ways you can touch the industry. The first thing I do in my plan of attack after saying yes and asking them specifically what they need from me is I do research on that audience, right? Like how I talk to entrepreneurs. It's not how I'm going to talk to Fortune 50 people. It's not really how I'm going to talk to side hustlers. It won't be how I talk to online course creators. So I research my audience, and then I'll do a Google research. I'll go to Answer the Public and see what questions those people are asking specifically, because I want to touch on their main things. But really, it kind of boils down to the same 3 points. What is PR? How do I make it work for me? How do I make it work for me and not spend any money? And so I try and always focus on, here's free ways you can do it. Here's the bite-sized chunks. You don't have to go be on Ellen or Oprah's couch or Today Show or talk to Ed Milet tomorrow. Like, you can start small, and sometimes it's the small and mighty chunks that just add up and add up and add up and add up and all those, rather than those big, huge ones. So I do my research first. I find what questions people are asking, and then I immediately start laying out in my social promotions and anything else I'm talking about, whether I'm doing other media interviews or if I'm speaking to other groups, how I can be promoting that summit. Because I want to make sure that my messages are all there, the timing is always falling in there, and it's not just a one and done promotion the week of the summit, or surprise, jump on the summit with me today. It takes people more than 14 touches to get it. And I am literally going to post at least 3 times on social media, because I'm really big on Instagram. That's my favorite platform. I'm going to give at least 3 posts a week on social media. I'm going to send an email to my list. I'm going to do 3 to 5 Instagram stories, not even just static posts, but Instagram stories leading up to it. I'm going to talk about it all the time, because I think it's like anything else. What you get out of it is what you put into it. And I'm going to promote the heck out of my appearance on someone's platform, because they're giving me the opportunity. And I'm from the Midwest. That's what you do. Someone wants to give you a leg up, you go above and beyond. So it's research, then it's promoting on my own. I'm not going to leave it up to the other person to do my promotion for me, because I want it to be successful. And I'm not saying they wouldn't be good at it, but you control your own path, and I am a control freak. So I'm going to promote that as best I can. Then I sign up for a service, and it's called Help a Reporter Out. It's also known as Haro, H-A-R-O, but it's helpareporter.com. And they will literally be journalists on a deadline sending, they need resources and information and quotes ASAP on all kinds of industries. They send the emails out 3 times a day, no matter what your industry is. And I make sure that I have that signed up and tuned in for what that topic of the summit is, because if there's any opportunity where I can be promoting that summit there, I'm going to sign up for that too. I'm going to be promoting it there.
This is a perfect segue into what I want to talk about now, which is your zone of genius, your expertise, which is how to get PR, how to get people out in front of more eyeballs and audiences. And honestly, a lot of us over here in the internet marketing space, we're not using all of our resources. So I'd love, KJ, if you could talk to us a little bit more about that, the Help a Reporter Out, but also any other kind of strategies that you've seen that would benefit a summit that maybe we're not even considering at this point?
Sure. Well, I mean, I can't say enough about Haro. Look, it's a free resource. It's the first stop anyone should be, whether they're building buzz for their summit or just for their expertise right now. It just gives you real-time media opportunities 3 times a day, straight from journalists. You submit your info, and it isn't even a back and forth Q&A. It can be, they'll ask you a question, you'll give your answer as an expert, they'll ask your title, and it may be a web link or a kickback link for you. They will take, you will never hear from them again. One day you're just on MSNBC. And that is the easiest, freest, most inexpensive way to get your name out there. Everyone should be doing it. And I think the next thing that a lot of people don't do is their homework, especially around virtual summits, right? You're doing all the pieces and parts, but once you have your system in place, in their downtime, you can be doing your homework, right? Because money makes the world go round, and media coverage is no different. And I'm not saying that you pay for advertising, but I'm saying you use how media outlets rely on advertising to your advantage. Because they need money and they need advertising to keep going, outlets have a publicly accessible editorial calendar. And it literally spells out month by month what topics they're going to cover, where they're going to focus, their podcasts, that sort of thing. And you can find those calendars on like their About page and their advertising section. It might be called an editorial calendar. It might be in their media kit, but they all have to have them. And if you use them as your guide, you can show, you can make a clear path of, okay, well, you know, I write about the fashion industry, or I have a summit about the fashion industry, and September is the biggest fashion issue for press around the world. I should be promoting my summit to all these people. I need to get that in there for September. And just a quick tip for everyone that's listening is that print outlets, typically like the big magazines, they are going to operate more than 4 months in advance. So, you know, if you're doing something around the holidays, if you have something going on in December, you're probably going to want to start pitching that in like September, that sort of thing, just to give yourself a little leeway. With digital, you can pitch, you know, a month in advance, not too far out, but you can't just do it like the week before. It's not always going to work for you. I think a third way to promote your summit and what you're doing that people don't think about is to just engage with reporters, because like you and I, they're people, right? They need story ideas just as much as you need to get your story idea out there. And I think that there's no better way to engage with them than like an article that they've written or an episode that they've recently shared. For instance, you're currently going through earthquakes today. You're having internet issues, but you have an awesome backup plan. I would have never thought of to have more than one internet. You know, it's your livelihood to be on there. You have a great business story right now that you're sitting on that you could be pitching not only your local media, but national business media about, hey, I can do my business from anywhere. I'm here in Puerto Rico. I am even recording podcasts using a 2 internet system in the middle of an earthquake. I don't think that there are a lot of businesses that would know that, but that helps promote. One, it gets your story out there, maybe not specifically about a summit you have coming up or something that you're offering, but it gets your name out there. It shows that you have business expertise. It shows that you're prepared. And it also is going to mention what you do for a living with a link back to your website, which gets more people to notice you, which gets more people to notice your podcast. It was all just because you probably noticed a reporter or two talking about either how hard it is to do business or what Puerto Rico is going through with earthquakes or that sort of thing. And all you have to do is reach out to them. The key to that, though, is that while you're tempted to respond directly in like the comments of an article or the comment part of a podcast, that sort of thing, I would instead take the contact information for that reporter and send him or her an email, because that way you can demonstrate you had thoughtful analysis. It can be a little bit longer. You can spell check for typos, because I'm notorious for typos and comments, but it also puts your direct contact information right at their fingertips instead of just your handle or username and a comment. And a lot of people write things and don't read their comments. So sending them that email is a great backup way to just let them have all your information right there, to be like, oh, this is Mark, he's so smart. I really have to remember him next time I need a story on this topic. But it also starts you build rapport with them, and rapport goes a long way with the media. You know, I think another way to promote your summit that people are not thinking about, and it's free and it's so simple, it just takes a little bit of time to get started, but it's starting a media list, because you can't really reach out to the media and you can't promote what you're doing if you don't have a media list. And you can't just go willy-nilly, oh, I want to be here, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to be in Inc., I want to be in USA Today, I want to be on this podcast. You can't really do that, but it is easier than you think. So it should be a running list of writers, broadcasters, podcasters, their contact info. And you should also include a link to their latest article or podcast that's related to your industry, so you can see the flavor for how they write, what they cover, if it's just a Q&A, if it's going to be verbal, written, how things are going to be. And if you're not sure where to start with a media list, it's who's your target audience, who is your target audience reading, watching, or listening to, finding the correct contacts at those outlets, and then have they written about a product offering or anything close to your industry or niche. Those are things that will help you start forming a list. Another thing, and those people who post the Pinterest things about comparison is the thief of joy, be damned, because it's not. It's actually the key to mining your media list. Anyone who's ever covered your competitors, or in the Summit case, anyone who's ever covered the speakers you're featuring, are fair game for your media list. They've already covered areas that touch on what you're doing or that interest your same audience, and they've already proven that they want to cover that, so you should definitely put them on your media list.
Be sure to check out the speaker management tool inside your virtual summit software, which lets you quickly and easily recruit and manage your speakers on your virtual summit, literally eliminating hundreds of hours of work. Get more information at virtualsummits.com.
Wow, KJ, this is incredible. I'm like over here writing down all these notes. Now I'm like, I need to reach out to media about what my 2 internet system, I didn't even, it's something I just didn't even think of was, wouldn't have thought of that as smart. Just like, well, just do it. This is incredible. So could you at this point kind of just list the 3 or 4 things off, like a quick summary of it? So we've got 1, Haro, 2 is this, 3 is this, 4 is this. So we've got that in context.
Sure. Yep. 1 is Haro. 2 is doing your research and finding their editorial calendars to see what they're covering. The 3rd is following reporters and outlets in your industry or of interest and seeing what they're talking about, and then having a conversation with them. The 4th one, which we kind of touched on, but I didn't specifically call out, with your 2 internet system, would be to keep track of the 10 questions you're asked in 1 week that you see yourself always being asked. That's what you should be pitching to people. That is your pitch schedule for the year. Those are the questions people want answered. That's what you're an expert in. And then the 5th one is just have a media list.
And I love that media list. Can we dive a little bit deeper into that? Because I'd love to learn more about that. So if we're getting started, walk me through this. I'm a newbie at this. I'm going to start building a media list. Where would I start going? And you were mentioning, find your target, what they're reading. Is there certain parameters to that? Does it have to just be, for example, is it a magazine or is it an online editorial? Just walk us through that strategy in a little bit more depth.
Sure. So if I was if I had a brand new person, I was trying to talk them through, hey, here's how you develop a media list, and I didn't want to pull a media list for them. You don't need a fancy system. You don't need to sign up for one of the really expensive services. You just need, again, Google. Google is your friend. So the first thing you do is you take your area of expertise and you're like, who's my target audience? And then you go to your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Instagram, whatever your social media platform is, your email list, and you make a survey. And you literally just ask people, hey, what podcasts are you listening to? Hey, what news do you read the newspaper? Hey, where do you get your news every day? What are you interested in learning more about? And every once in a while you can see like the big names will be like, hey, what podcasts are you listening to? They're not really looking for more podcasts to listen to. They're looking for podcasts they can be on to get more people to listen to them. So it's just like a little fishing expedition. That's the first step I would do. I would mine my audience and do research about what they're reading, writing, and listening to, because those are the people I want more of. The second thing I would do, I would creep on every single press page, every single website, and do a Google search of my competitors to see where they've popped up. Because where they've popped up is a whole media list for you to start building and adding on your own. It's people that are already interested in what you're doing. It's people who've already covered your industry or niche. You might have a differing take than your competitors. You obviously offer something different than your competitors, or you can complement the story or add more detail to it. These are all helpful things. Add those people to your media list. The third thing I would do, and it feels so basic, but actually I'm going to add 4 more. So the third thing I would do is I just do a Google search. If I was a baker, for instance, and I had an online baking summit, once a year, I would type pastry, just literally pastry, into the Google search. And then at the top where it's like all searches, images, shopping, more, you click the more tab and it says there's a news one. And you go to the news one, it pulls up every article that's ever been about macaroons and who knows how long. And then you just look at that. Okay, does this title match? Does this Bloomberg article match? And you've got outlets, you've got titles you can probably tweak for pitching or your blog or podcast topics. You've got the contact information for who wrote that article, or at least a good place to start to try and find and search who wrote that article. And you can build a media list from there, no problem. And you don't need to have hundreds of thousands of people on your media list. If you're just getting started, 15 to 20 contacts is more than enough for you to be reaching out to, because you're going to have to personalize an email to every one of these people, follow up, maybe do a phone call. So I don't think you have to have like 250 before you start. Start with 5, start with 10, start with 15. The key is starting. But so those are the ways that I would go about starting my media list.
I mean, this is so good. This is like incredible information here, KJ. And I can tell you I'm going to say like 97% of Summit hosts are not doing this. Hand raised over here. You can bet we're going to be doing this moving forward. Now, I'd love to hear, now that we've got the media list, let's say we've done the work, we've built this list. What's the next step? Because I'm assuming we got to start building a relationship with these. Like, so how do we do that? And then how do we utilize this list when we're getting ready for our next summit?
You are going to introduce yourself, because it's just like pitching the media is just like a networking event. It's just like walking up to somebody or starting a conversation in the line at the bank. You're going to send them an email. You're going to first find the right contacts, right? Make sure you have their email address. Then you're going to make sure that you can describe in one sentence who you are and what your summit or your podcast or whatever you're pitching is about. Then you're going to introduce yourself. It's going to be super simple. You're going to think of a cute little, not too cute, but you're going to think of a good subject line, like it can even be as simple as introduction, what you're doing and who they are. But it's a topic. I'm just going to read you a pitch right now. And it's going to say something like, hello, contact name. I have been following your column, blog, podcast for quite some time. I love your content and what you share with your readers, listeners, viewers. Every time I read a post, listen to an episode, I feel like I'm able to walk away with a simple, clear action item. One recent example that really resonated with me was, and then put the example. So it shows that you've researched them. It shows that you are paying attention to what they're doing. It's showing you're not just blind pitching them like a a-hole. And then the next paragraph of your email could be, I believe that I can add value to your audience and on a few different topics. Some that immediately come to mind include, then you list out topic 1, and it's just a high-level overview sentence. And then it's 2, a proposed topic or title. It's 3, a proposed topic or title. Stop with 3 because you don't need to give them all your ideas, and also good things come in 3s. And then you just say, many thanks for considering my request. I look forward to hearing from you. And then you end with a thank you or a many thanks, because I have found that kind regards or salutations or those things don't get you answers. But a thank you and a many thanks, I get like a 75% response rate when I show gratitude as my salutation. And then you include your contact name at the end. So I'd have KJ Blattenbauer, I'd have my phone number, I'd have my email again, and then I'd have my website, because they're going to stalk you. Give them the ways to stalk you. Make yourself super easy to find. But that is as simple as your first pitch has to be. I am going to go so far as to tell you that you should send out your initial pitches on a Tuesday or a Wednesday morning. If you don't hear back from anyone, do not be discouraged, because people are busy, right? Like, you're not sitting at your computer waiting for people to pitch you to be on the podcast. You're busy. You're doing stuff. You're recording podcasts. You find a time when you find time. So you'll do your initial pitch or outreach Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, follow up Thursday morning, maybe Friday morning, but probably Thursday morning with your second one. And all I do for my follow-up is I forward on my original email. And in the subject line where the FWD comes, I take that out and I put follow-up, because then it shows that you followed up a second time. But also you can trick people into thinking like, oh, shoot, yeah, this person, we've already had a conversation with this person. They're just following up to give me what I asked for. You just do follow-up and you just say, like I just say, hello, Mark, I wanted to follow up on the information I sent below. I really think I can provide value to your listeners. I'd love to get together to talk about more topics on X. Let's get in touch with me. And then it's a thank you again, all your contact information. I send that follow up That Thursday or Friday morning, I let things breathe for the weekend because no one's checking things on a weekend. I don't care if we're a 24/7 world or not. And then I follow up again the following Tuesday or Wednesday morning. And if I don't hear anything, I might take a week off, and then I'm going to hit them hard with another thing. And it's not another intro, but it's another topic about, oh, I just saw you had an episode on X. That's so interesting. It really made me think about whatever, and then how it relates to my stuff. Because when I'm pitching you, I haven't hosted a virtual summit. Maybe I'm a chicken, but maybe I should probably do a virtual summit now that I'm thinking about it. I just haven't done a virtual summit. So on first blush, people will be like, you are not a fit for this podcast, KJ. But my area of expertise can help your people do more things. So I wouldn't be like, hey, Mark, I've never hosted a virtual summit, but you should talk to me because I'm an expert on hosting virtual summits. No, I pitched you on, hey, here's a way that people who host virtual summits can get more people listening, more eyeballs, more people interested using PR. So it's just finding the way your niche ties into what they're doing.
I love that. And that's exactly why we have the summit speaker spot for this podcast, is people who speak on summits are still in the summit world. And I actually love this, this information that you've given. And so just to kind of summarize that to one little degree is, if you don't hear back on the first initial outreaches, you don't quit or stop, you follow up again with another topic or another title or another subject that relates to an additional thing that they've got going on. So, I mean, you could do this ongoing forever until, you eventually get that connection. So the last thing we'll kind of touch on here, KJ, and then we'll wrap this up, is now that we've made the connection, we've got it.
Wait, can I just stop you for 1 second? Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to touch on this point because I think so many people get so nervous about pitching, and then they stop and they hold themselves back, or they get really discouraged when they don't hear back. I've been doing this for 25 years. I don't hear back on my initial pitches. Even if they are the greatest pitch that I'm so proud of that I've ever sent, I hardly ever hear back on that. I will hear back a lot on my follow-up because it takes people a couple pokes, but you can't get discouraged. I tell my interns, I tell my employees, I tell clients that I am training, you don't stop following up until they send you a cease and desist, a restraining order, or they tell you no. And the best thing they can do is tell you no, because then you can follow up and say, if they don't offer it initially, you can follow up and say, okay, you're not the right person. Is there someone else at X outlet I can follow up with? So I've never had anyone send me a cease and desist. I've only had one person call me a stalker. I can count on one hand the number of times media were mean to me because my pitches were dumb. And 3 out of those 5 times they were dumb. So I had it coming to me. But don't get discouraged. Just keep doing, just keep going, just keep poking at it. It's just like weight loss, right? You're not going to start January 1st and be like, I want to lose 100 pounds and run 2 miles and almost want to die. And then January 2nd be like, yay, I lost 100 pounds. It doesn't work that way. Like you got to keep going and going and going and going and going until someone tells you no.
With the Ever Summit feature inside the Virtual Summit software, you can rerun your summit as if it were live, ongoing forever with one click of a button. This now lets you continue to use your summit forever, bringing in qualified and engaged leads every month into your business. Get more information at virtualsummit.com.
I love this. And those examples, man, this is, you're a little firecracker over there, KJ. I love this. So let's wrap it up with this. I would love for you to then now kind of concisely let us know, we've got the relationship. How do we now use that relationship? Say, I've got my summit coming up in 4 months. What's the next step?
So you've pitched. Hopefully you're going to get some coverage from it. But just keep staying in touch with them, whether it's something you can help them with that specifically benefits you, or it's just an expert that you know that can help them with something that they're working on. Start building that helpful rapport. Like if I wanted to do a summit, I feel like you and I have a relationship. I can reach out to you and be like, hey, Mark, I'm trying to do this, or I need a speaker for this. Is there anyone you'd recommend? You're going to eventually get to a relationship with a journalist where you're going to get to do that. And it might not benefit you today, but it might benefit you tomorrow. But you're also going to start extending your 15 minutes of fame, right? So just because you reach out to that reporter, you have the relationship and you have coverage from that one, it doesn't mean you're done, right? That article happens, you can promote that article. You can share that link across all your social media accounts. You should have a press page in places where you are featured on your website. You should be sharing it there. You could write a blog post about the experience and teach other people about how they can be doing it. or just brag a little bit about your press. You can definitely, every part of your website, the headers and banners on your Facebook and your LinkedIn, it should all be as seen in, featured in, and have all the links and logos of places that you've been. And, to help build up that third-party expertise, you can send an email blast to your customers or your listeners saying, hey, I know you usually turn in to hear me on my own podcast, but I was on this podcast I want to share with you because there's so many nuggets of wisdom, that sort of thing. And you can send it to, you can even pass it on to other press people, because they're like, hey, I know you mentioned that you were kind of worried I hadn't been featured anywhere, but just made the Wall Street Journal. Guess you're going to want to cover me now. That sort of stuff. I would do that in moderation, but I still would do it to a few people. And then just make it easy for your network to spread it. Because if you do short and succinct Twitter level capacity things like, hey, I was recently featured on whatever, we're talking about, want to learn the best way to get your summit noticed, URL, and then that's easy for people to share. And that's how you extend your 15 minutes. Just keep going on and on and on and on and on, because you can't be shy about publicizing yourself, especially if you have a summit coming up, if you have something going on. If you don't toot your own horn, no one is going to toot it for you. And it's not bragging if you're proud of what you're doing.
This is so good. Okay, KJ, man, that is absolutely phenomenal gems. I knew this was going to be such a great episode. I'm so thankful for you for fighting through with me through the earthquake and the internets, and we made this happen. And I know all of our listeners right now are like, thank you, KJ. Thank you, Mark, for making this happen, despite the risk of death and injury, blah, blah, blah. No, but I know what they are thinking. They're thinking, Mark, how do I get in touch with KJ? How can I follow her? How can I consume more from her? So, KJ, why don't you let them know where you're hanging out with? What's the best way they can get in touch with you?
I am usually hanging out on Instagram. So you can find me at KJ Blattenbauer. That's KJ Blattenbauer on Instagram. You can also find me at kjblattenbauer.com. And then I have a new book available, and it's How to Be a Media Darling. It's step-by-step PR guide that just shows you exactly how to be your own publicist and extend that 15 minutes of coverage. And you can find that on Amazon under How to Be a Media Darling.
Oh, that is great. So we're gonna put all of this over on the show notes so everybody can grab that book, go hang out with KJ on Instagram. And KJ, I'll let you kind of round us out with one final parting piece of wisdom that our summit hosts need to know.
The one parting piece of wisdom, I think it's something we've already touched on. It's PR, and that they need to be doing it. They need to be working as their own publicist, because there's no one else that's going to do it for them. They have to be out there promoting and putting themselves in front of others, because it's the best way to extend their reach and the breadth. And it's their best way to help additional people, but also to get the best summit speakers and guests.
I love it. Make sure you go check out KJ's book, How to Be a Media Darling. Hang out with her over there at Instagram. And KJ, thank you again so much for taking this time to be on this podcast with me.
Thank you for having me. It was a blast.
And thank you, all you Summit hosts, for hanging out with KJ and I. I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, your host here on the Virtual Summit Podcast. And just remember, your message matters. So go out there and make an impact. Don't forget to check out the show notes so you can get access to all the links, goodies, and downloads that KJ just shared with us over at podcast.virtualsummits.com/112. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening. Now don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on the Virtual Summit Podcast. Head over to the show notes to check out all the links and resources from this episode, and be sure to grab your free trial of the Virtual Summit software.
Now, I want to end this episode by saying to all the Summit hosts listening right now, I believe in you, and you can do this. Summits are by far one of the most powerful ways to quickly grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and most importantly, make an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. So don't get caught up in analysis paralysis, because the world needs to hear your message, and there are people who are waiting for you to help them. So just get started, because imperfect action is always better than no action. Thank you, and see you on the next episode.